And that was the moment that I stopped being racist and homophobic. Hey guys, I wanted to tell you a couple of stories from my life that shares to you why I think the way I do now. And yes, my regression was a very big experience for me, but I had several things that happened to me prior to my regression and after my regression that tie in very, very quickly and very easily into my current beliefs. I remember a time I was 19 years old, and I was going to a convenience store. And I walked into the convenience store, and I got in line, and I bought my items. And as I walked back out to my car, I realized the cashier had given me $5 too much change. And I realized it, and I walked back in, and I said, "I'm sorry, you gave me $5 too much." And the next person in line says, "Well, there's something you don't see every day, an honest person." And I heard those words, and I felt this feeling overcome me. It was just this swell of energy that swelled up inside me after hearing him say that. And I turned and I walked out to the car, and halfway out to the car, I'm still feeling this feeling. And I literally said out loud, "Jesus, is that you?" And it happened again. It swelled again. Now, I had not had any psychics tell me anything about the past life at that point. I had never had a regression at that point. I was 19. I was a young guy. But I want to tell you who I was at 19. You see, at 19, I had a father who was a plumber. And he was a plumber in a small town that during the summertime was a beach resort, but for 9 months of the year was a small town country community, basically. And my father was absolutely one who had no problem throwing the N-word or calling gay men the F word, or he was a homophobic, and he was a racist. And as his son, who was trying to get his approval, which was not possible, I was very much going down that route. I was very much becoming a racist and a homophobic. But that night, walking out of that convenience store and feeling that swell of energy was an epiphany moment for me. It was a moment where I realized that everything is love. And though I couldn't verbalize that or express that in words, there was just an energetic shift in me that night. And from that point on, I wasn't racist or homophobic. And it was a night and day difference. And that actually caused even more problems with my father, because not only wasn't I, but I would call him out on things. So I wanted to share this story because for me it was a huge moment, and it was that moment of feeling that authentic self, that flare of love on a subconscious level reminded me of Jeshua. As I called him Jesus back then, because I didn't know anything about Jeshua at that point. But Jeshua, that was who he was. He was that unconditional love. He was that experience. So when I experienced that positive swell of energy, the only thing that John of old would have known as that positive swell of energy was Jeshua, right? And so for me, it was a very familiar feeling. And it really comes down to in our lives, our connection to Jeshua or the other side or God or love is in being good people, is in giving that $5 back, is in opening the door for someone, is in smiling at that person who needs to be smiled at, giving that $5 to that person, homeless person in the street, just thinking of someone else and sending out that love and doing the right things. A long time ago, I wrote a stage play for the Florida Renaissance Festival, and one of the lines was said by the ghost of Anne Boleyn to Henry VIII. And the line was, and I wrote this line, and I go back and I look at these scripts, and I'm like, these scripts were just peppered with good lines. The line was, Henry, do what is right. That is the way to the kingdom that comes to you after death. Do what is right, and eternal happiness is yours. And the line, it rings so true to me. Do what is right, and eternal happiness is yours. And I don't mean righteous, as in I'm trying to prove my beliefs. I mean, from the place of love, do what is right. From the place of love, do what is right. Express love into the world, and that is right. And that is the way to the kingdom that comes to us after death. That's the idea. The idea is that when you do those small things, you are connected to Jeshua and Buddha and Krishna and your mom and my mom and Aunt Tilly and Uncle Bob, all the oneness of all, because we're all in this life thing together. And everybody wants that feeling. Everyone is joyful of that feeling. When I gave that $5 back to that cashier, I am so sure that he was happy I gave it back to him. Right? So it really was a moment of epiphany for me. Yes, I was no longer homophobic or racist, but it was a bigger understanding of the nature of the world. And you have the ability in this life to do that every day. Just go out and be the love within yourself and express that love to everyone you meet. And you will see drastic changes in your life. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.